Today's guest is Tim Newman, a communication coach, podcast host, and recovering college professor who spent over 20 years transforming speakers into confident communicators. From showing up doing his first presentation to now teaching others his proven formula for public speaking, Tim's journey is proof that anyone can master the art of powerful communication. In this episode, we're diving into why content creators must see themselves as public speakers even if they are not on stage, the ACEs framework, Tim's step-by-step system to craft talks that connect, how to turn fear into fuel and stories into audience magnets. Whether you're scripting a podcast, filming a video, or pitching your next big idea, this conversation is packed with tools to help you stand out and speak up. Let's get started. I noticed that for one of your stories is that you moved from someone who is a nervous speaker to a communication expert. And for me, that's an inspiring story. Can you walk us through how you moved from that nervous guy to now the expert in communication?
Well, it's a long story. I noticed the nervousness when I was much younger, early to mid 20s. I'm 57 now. So I'd always wanted to be a teacher. If you can't stand up in front of a group of students and talk to them and teach them, then you're not going to be a very effective teacher. The first time that as a student, I stood up in front of a class and started to speak, I threw up. And I knew that wasn't going to work for me. So I started finding ways for me to be able to get through it so that I could be an effective communicator and teacher. And I piecemeal things together. One of the big things for me that makes a good speaker or communicator is the research and preparation. I focus a lot of my time and effort on that research and preparation piece.
The way you share the story now, it sounds like communication was one of those things you needed to do in order for you to get your dream, which was to teach.
When you stand up in front of a group of students and you're supposed to be the expert, you should have some level of confidence and communication expertise to get your message across in a way that they can learn the content and help them grow.
It's nice to get to know where someone is coming from and the story behind why someone does what they do. And I'm really glad you shared that.
Thank you.
Now we'll dive into the main topic of the day, which is how content creators can use public speaking and communication to build influence and stand out from the noise out there. The first question, a lot of persons, many content creators, they don't see themselves as public speakers. When most people hear public speakers, what they think of is keynote speakers, professionals, and all those things. So why is mass communication just as important for content creators as it is for the other professionals and speakers?
That's a really good question. I think we have a skewed version of what public speaking is and what communication is. I look at it from a perspective of anytime that we're outside of our house and we're talking to somebody, that's public speaking. And in terms of communication, everything that we do in our life revolves around communication, whether it's a one-on-one conversation, what we're doing here in this podcast, with you being in Nigeria, me being in the United States, small groups, job interviews, networking events, team meetings, all those are ways that we communicate. When you talk about content creation, that's just another way of communicating, whether it's our thoughts, whether it's our ideas. It could be visual, it could be a picture, a movie, a song. The biggest thing we need to look at anytime we're communicating is the audience. Who are we communicating to? What do we know about them? What is it that they want to hear from us or see from us? And that audience piece is the biggest hurdle that we need to overcome.
When someone is just trying to talk to their peers is way different from when you're trying to talk to a bunch of kids in, let's say, kindergarten.
Yes. Absolutely. Even if you're talking about the same topic though, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about nutrition as an example.
Yeah.
When you talk to kindergartens about nutrition, it's talking about very simple things. You should eat your fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And when you're talking,
you start using some rhymes, you sing with them, you give examples and you laugh and you joke. Well, when you're talking to adults, it's way different.
Exactly. You could do that if you want to, but I think they may look at you a little funny.
There's going to be a lot of resistance. Compared to the kids, they're going to be like, wow, yes, at least somebody's speaking our language for once.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. And then you also talked about what we are trying to achieve, which is more like the purpose. If someone is trying to inspire, it's way different from when you're trying to. I'll give an example. If you're giving this, let's say someone is giving a speech about life and death, and you want to give that speech to soldiers who are going to the war and to inspire them to fight for their country, it will be different the way you phrase it, the way you say it. It will also be different if you are giving that speech if you are in, what do you call it now, a burial ceremony.
Absolutely. It just could be much more somber, much more reflective.
Yeah. You
much softer tone.
Exactly. You don't want to be reflective when you need to be inspiring and persuading people to fight for their country. Like literally go die for their country.
Exactly.
I like that. I like the fact that we add value even before we've gotten to maybe 10% of the time.
But isn't that the key? Isn't that why people tune in? Your show, my show, any show, they want to learn something. That's what we're trying to do. Give them some value.
Yeah. And it boils down to the same thing we talk about, the audience and the purpose. We could start talking about, I don't know if you're into sports, we could start talking about sport. But that's not what the audience are listening for. That's not what they want. That's not the purpose of the podcast. That's not who they are. And while we might have a good time having that conversation, at the end of the day, it's not going to help anybody except the both of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Before we go into some of the formulas, frameworks, I know you have a lot of them to share with us. Recently, I've been asking some of my guests, and one of the questions I asked them is, what are the things we must not do?
You can't let your fears overtake you. You can't let your fears stop you from being the professional that you know you can be, that people know you can be, that people expect you to be. That's the biggest one. We put restrictions on ourselves. Nobody else does this to us. We do it to ourselves. We stop ourselves and we talk ourselves into this, oh, you're not good enough. You're not ready to do this. Nobody else is doing that to us. We're doing it to ourselves. So the first thing is, do not let your fears stop you from being who you know that you can be.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We've internalized a lot of voices, a lot of thoughts that are not helping us. They're working against us. I noticed that you've developed the formula for public speaking, and that's where my interest is. Can you break it down for us?
And I look at it from a big picture perspective, and this formula will work in pretty much any situation. Formula is ACEs. A stands for audience. You need to learn everything you can about who your audience is, what they want, what they like, what they don't like. C is for content. Then you go and pull all of your content together. E is for expectations. Expectations is a broad term, and you have to look at it from multiple different angles. The expectations of your audience, what is it they want to get out of it? Expectations of the people who hired you or who asked you to come speak, what you want your audience to get out of it, and the information that you want to share. That really changes depending on who your audience is. Go back to the whole idea we just joked about with food, right? And how those expectations change based on who that audience is, right? And then S is for the script. And the script is where you take all the information that you've researched, that you've gathered, you put it into a story form, you practice it, you put together your visuals, and again, it comes back to practice it, and your script should be a story. You should be taking them on a journey from beginning to end so that it's coherent and they can follow what you're saying and meet those expectations. The big thing is practice. And practice isn't sitting at your desk reading your notes. Practice is actually standing up and delivering the talk or whatever it is in the environment that you want to deliver it in.
Yeah, the fact that I'm discussing content creator is so much on point because you have your podcast, right? Which means you're basically a content creator too. Most of the things I'll be asking you, you understand and relate to, right? You're giving us the ACES framework. If I wanted to make an episode, let's say you do have a podcast on speaking with confidence. I can see the text behind you. Let's say you had an episode on how to open a speech. How would you use that formula and prepare from start to end?
That's a really good question. Part of it is unanswerable because it depends on who you are as an individual from the speaker piece. For me, I'm somebody who likes to use self-deprecating humor. So 90% of the time when I give a talk, I'm going to open with some type of self-deprecating humorous joke to get the audience going. But again, I'm going to know who that audience is. I'm going to guide that statement to who that audience is. If you're not somebody who likes to joke around, that's fine. But you have to find the style that is good for you and fits your persona, if that makes sense. There really is no one right way to do that because it really depends on the speaker and it depends on that audience.
Yeah. So what you're saying basically is there are a lot of resources at your disposal. There are a lot of factors that decide which of the resources you pick for a scenario.
Yes. So for example, I'm giving a keynote speech in a couple of weeks. About 2 hours ago, I had an opening statement and I called my wife and presented it to her. I thought it was funny. Didn't even get a chuckle. So I said, okay, that's not going to work. So I got to find something else. In that little piece that I just told you, what I hope listeners get is, okay, I tried something, I practiced it, I delivered it and didn't get a response. So now I know I need to go back and revise it. When you're doing these things, it's not just, okay, here we go, and we're running with it. You've got to find the thing that's going to work.
So I like the fact that you test your material. A lot of persons, when they want to give a talk, they have an idea and they just run with it. And they start giving a talk. It's the first draft. It's not edited. It's not refined. It's not tested. There are no feedback and reiterations. You just put it out there. And most of the time, it doesn't do really well. And you're like, oh, it's flopped. Why? The audience, they don't get it. And you're like, you should have tested more. You should have gone through iterations before you presented.
Exactly. And you know what, from a presentation perspective, you really only have 5 to 7 seconds to grab the audience's attention. Yeah. And if you don't grab their attention and get them engaged almost immediately, you're going to lose them.
Like the statement, first impression matters. That's literally first impression really matters.
Exactly. It really does.
Earlier when you shared the formula, there was a follow-up question I wanted to ask you. And the question is, you talked about scripts, right?
Yes.
And for a lot of persons, but I'll use myself as an example, memorizing things for me, it's a bit difficult, right? So the question I want to ask is, how do we internalize it such that we can tell it without having to read line by line or cram and then recite stuff from our head?
So again, that's another really good question. I think there's a number of ways to do that. For me, I like to use bullet points, and bullet points, 3 or 4 words, so that I know, okay, this is the next topic I'm going to talk about. And it's not word for word, because if we're going word for word and we're reading off a teleprompter, what's eventually going to happen is we're going to make a mistake. We're going to say a word wrong. We're going to mispronounce something, and the audience is going to see that we messed up, and then we're going to go back and try and fix it. If you have another way to do it, like for me, it's bullet points, I can just carry on. It's really not that big of a deal. Now, those people that like word for word, and that's what works for them, that's great. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to work for everybody. You have to find your way. What I do with my bullet points is they're on my notes. When I'm practicing, I'll have my notes and that sort of thing. But when I'm up on stage or in front of a room, most of the time, I've practiced enough and I know where I should be and what I should be talking about. I'm not exactly sure where I'm at time-wise, but I've practiced it in person. So I've got a good idea of the timing and what comes next and what we're going to talk about and what questions I'm going to ask and how I'm going to engage.
So at the end of the day, what keeps coming up to my mind is the Socratic dictum. You have to know what works for you. The best way to know what works for you is to test everything and then see, okay, this one works for me. This one doesn't, then just discard it.
When I was younger, I did word for word. Literally had it scripted out. As I got, more experience, I realized that didn't really work and people knew that I was reading.
Yeah.
And that's boring. That's not engaging because the reality is if you're standing up in front of a group, they can read. They don't want you to read. They want you to inform them. They want you to talk to them. It's really just a different type of conversation.
I think they want you to embody the material, to bring life to the material. And when you talked about mistakes, it occurred to me that in real life, 90% of the conversations we have day to day, like with our friends, with our kids, family, and peers, colleagues. The reason why I'm laughing is when I said our kids, I just realized that I don't yet have kids. Okay, my future
Your
kids.
future kids.
Yeah.
You already know you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. Okay. So when we have a conversation with them, we don't use scripts, we don't use stuff. And then we talk, most of the time, we speak eloquently. For me, the question I want to ask is, why is it that when we get up on the stage to talk, why do we all of a sudden start sweating? Everything we start stammering, Someone that speaks fluently starts saying blah, 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 blah.
From what I've found, most people are afraid to mess up or afraid to sound stupid. And I get it, because you're standing up there, everybody's watching you. It's the pressure that we put on ourselves. The audience isn't putting that pressure on us, but we start having that internal conversation, that internal dialogue. If I mess up or sound stupid, they're going to laugh at me. They're going to judge me. And wisdom, guess what? They're not thinking about you. They're not judging you. They want you to do well. They're thinking about themselves, worried about somebody looking at them or judging them. They're not thinking about you.
Yeah. It's such a good thing to know that the world is not out to get you.
But we have to understand, we've gotten to a point in society, and I'm not sure if it's like this in Nigeria or not, but with social media, we are so concerned about what other people think about us that we don't even know.
Yeah.
We're worried about, oh, this person's going to make fun of my hair. They're going to laugh at my shirt. You don't even know them.
Yeah.
Go be you.
Yeah. Recently, I was having a conversation with a guest on my podcast, and I was like, people are struggling to put themselves out there, to talk, to present and all that because of what people would say. There was a time when if you say the wrong thing, you could get killed for it. It could be the end of not just the person, but the family too. We're not in that era. You could say your stuff. It would just be one person in the comments on social media and say, oh, he doesn't know what he's saying. And that's it. You move on, you delete the comment and move on as if nothing happened.
Think about it from a content creation perspective, right? When we put out information, whether it's in our podcast, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whatever it is, you're putting yourself out there. Understand that not everybody's going to agree with you. And that's okay. It's okay. If you don't agree, that's fine. Everybody's going to be polite about it. And that's okay too. They don't know.
Yeah, I think a guest recently articulated this in a better way for me. She said, we don't like everybody, but yet we want everybody to like us on social media.
Exactly.
And I was like, so true. Like, why we've been talking about why the mindset of the thing, because I know you worked with a lot of clients and students on public speaking. One of the things I know you would have noticed is that the major battle with public speaking is not necessarily the technical aspect. It's more about the mindset. A lot of persons are afraid.
Exactly.
So the question I want to ask is, for someone who struggles with self-doubt when speaking, what's your advice for getting past that nervous energy?
There's a couple of things. And I think the biggest thing, the first thing that we have to do is, number one, identify it. And identify where that's coming from and address that issue. Now, number two, I think it's perfectly normal for people to get nervous. It's a normal human emotion. That's fine. It's when we allow that nervousness to stop us from doing the things that we want to do is the problem.
Yeah.
So when a lot of times, at least I believe, a lot of times nervousness shows that you want to do well. It's a desire to perform at your best. And some nervousness is fine because it shows that you care. So for me, when I'm nervous or anytime that I'm going up on stage, I've got what's called a walk-up song, whether it's playing on the speakers or whether I have the song playing in my head. It's that piece that gets me in the right mindset. It gets me fired up. It gets me to the place that I need to be to go out and be that person, be the person that's been hired to give that keynote, be that person who's been hired to run this team, be that person who's been hired to teach somebody else how to be a great communicator, right? Yeah. Just putting yourself in that mindset, understand that nervousness is okay. It shows that you care, shows that you want to do well, and don't let that nervousness overtake you.
Yeah. What I would ask is, I know we're talking about tactics and techniques and all that. Can you share the personal story of someone who was terrified of speaking or showing up on camera but transformed using your methods?
Yeah, I've got a few. I use a lot of self-deprecating humor. So I had this one person who had a stuttering problem. And he stuttered normally. It was this. And so when it came time to stand up in front of a group of people and talk, it was very pronounced the more nervous he got. And I worked with him. He was given a presentation and he got almost all the way through it and he started stuttering, but he used the techniques we talked about. He laughed at it, made a comment, and moved on. The rest of the presentation was fine.
Yeah.
And that's the key. It's not going to be perfect. It's never perfect. It's okay if you mess up. You build credibility when you mess up. It's how you handle that mess up and and move forward. When he stuttered, when he got almost all the way through and everybody laughed and moved forward, he did exactly what he needed to do. He was fine. And he's now an athletic director at a high school, and he deals with these situations on a regular basis. He has meetings and presentations with the school board officials, coaches, parents, players, and he's doing it all the time. It's finding that key to get you over that hump and give you the technique to get past it.
I like the way he handled the situation. He diffused the tension.
Yeah.
One of the things you emphasize is storytelling. And I think that it itself is very important. So for me, how do we weave storytelling into our content or presentation or podcast and stuff like that?
Yeah. So again, that's another really good question. I think there's many different ways to do it. And I can only, when I work with people, you get to know them and figure out their style. But for me, I use self-deprecating humor, but I talk about my family a lot. And you have to be comfortable doing that. So you got to find ways that you're comfortable with doing. And I'm just thinking back, I've done 100 plus podcasts. I don't think there's ever been an episode where I haven't mentioned my family at all. Right. And one of the reasons why I do that is because you automatically become relatable. Whether I talk about my wife, my kids, my grandkids, my brothers, somewhere along those lines, somebody's had some of those similar experiences. And you suck them into the talk, the presentation, the podcast. And here's the big thing that we have to remember. When you're telling your stories, they're your stories. So they can't be wrong.
Yeah.
Because you were there.
It happened.
It's a way to share information in a non-threatening way where you actually remember something because you were already there. Wisdom, I'm not going to tell you that your story is wrong when you were there. I wasn't there. So you've got to have that comfortableness to tell those stories. And here's the other piece to it. It doesn't have to be some great story. It doesn't have to be some life-altering, tragic thing that happened to you. So here's a for example. I got a 4-year-old granddaughter, love her to death. And I miss her. Last night, she called me. She's getting ready to go to gymnastics class. And she says, Pops, I got to go. I'll call you back later. I said, okay, that'd be great, honey. And she didn't call me back. My 4-year-old granddaughter didn't call me back. So what am I going to do? Am I going to be mad at a 4-year-old because she didn't call me back? It's those things. It's being able to laugh and joke and have those things, but still get your message across, to still be able to communicate so that people understand and remember that somebody else could be delivering the same talk and it's going to resonate with them differently.
I like the fact that you talked about earlier, you talked about the story aspect, how our story is uniquely ours and people cannot context that. Earlier on, I talked about imposter syndrome. I asked the question on the imposter syndrome. And I think weaving your story into the content in a way is a way to deal with imposter syndrome, because then people can't question that because they're like, dude, that's what happened to me. This is why, these are my experience. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know my mathematics brain is looking for, can you give us a framework? Let's say I'm preparing a speech and I want to incorporate some story into it to make it fun and a bit entertaining. Is there like a framework I used to like select stories, to mix up stories and put it into the speech or the content or whatever the case might be?
That's another good question. I think it really depends on who the individual is. I'm somebody who I don't have a set speech. I do have a way that I go through it. I tell a brief story, a brief funny story. I tell the people what I'm going to tell them. Then I tell the story. The first time I got to present, it goes back a long time ago. Back in the late 80s, early 90s. This was back before we even had computers.
Boys were boys.
Yeah, exactly. See, you know what I'm talking about. And wisdom, guess what? I am probably the best. I'm better than anybody getting out of things I don't want to do. Better than anybody. Okay. So I went to college. After I've been out of the military, I got out of the military. I've been leading people in the military, been an athlete up to that point. So I've been in high pressure situations. I've been leading people. And I take this course, and it's a course everybody, pretty much every institution in the United States has. It's a speech communications class. And I get the syllabus. I said, there's no way I'm getting up in front of a group of people and giving a speech. So I dropped the class. My advisor says, Tim, if you want to graduate, you have to take this class. But you know where I'm going with this now, right?
Yeah.
And so it's my turn. And again, we had computers, but not like we have them today. We didn't have PowerPoint. I had an overhead projector with these clear cellophane slides where I had actually written on them. I'm getting ready to start talking, and that's when I threw up. Got a good laugh out of it. I didn't present that day. So again, I'm really good at getting out of things I don't want to do.
Let's talk about how to give a memorable speech.
See?
That's so called memorable. You didn't without even to say a word.
See?
Wow.
But here's the thing though, okay? This is what you have to be able to do. People have to be able to relate to that.
Yeah.
Think about how nervous people get. Who do you know that has thrown up in front of a group of people and been willing to talk about it? So they see the vulnerability. They've seen what you've gone through. They understand it because they may not have thrown up, but they've been there. They've been nervous as hell. And now they're hooked. Now you've got them in. Now they're listening. And now you can tell them and give them the information that they need.
Yeah. I think it boils back to knowing the audience, knowing the purpose of the speech. And because then when you understand the audience, for example, if you were to give a speech on a particular topic in front of, let's say, which examples? I don't want to give the fixed example that I gave at the start of the show. If you were to give a speech in front of, let's say, people who are in the part of the world where they're not exactly financially buoyant. There are certain examples that you want to make that they will not relate to. Okay, I struggled to fix the AC. It was like, dude, nobody really gets what you're saying.
We want food. You've got air conditioning. I'm worried about where I'm getting my next meal.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you start telling stories of how you made some stupid decisions just because you were hungry, but now it's something that they can relate to. The question I want to ask is, for me, I always think of, okay, what are some habits, what are some systems someone could put in place to improve their speaking skills? If I'm a creator, I'm like, I love this idea, I want to make my public speaking better. What is something I could be doing daily, weekly, or maybe often to improve my public speaking skills and make sure that I become not just any content creator, but someone who, once I start speaking, they're like, wow, this guy is loaded.
The first thing that you have to do is not let the fear hold you back. You have to practice it. You have to go out and do it. It's one thing to think about it, but thinking about it isn't actually doing it. You have to actually go out and start doing it. Talk to groups of people. Ask them what they want to hear about, and then go back and prepare something and talk about it. Ask your listeners, who do you want to have on? What do you want to hear about? What is it that I can share with you? What value do you want to hear about? And then you go and you prepare and then you deliver it. Part of this is you actually have to do it. When I talk about the all-time greats from a sport perspective, you know who Michael Jordan is, right?
Yeah, I know Michael Jordan.
Okay. Tiger Woods.
Yeah, Tiger Woods.
Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant.
Bless his soul.
Okay, so let's just take those three as an example. They work on the fundamentals all the time. Kobe Bryant was notorious for getting to practice 45 minutes to an hour before everybody else and going through fundamentals. Fundamentals. Kobe Bryant, one of the best players in the history of the game, would spend 45 minutes to an hour before every practice working on fundamentals. Yeah. His thought process was, I'm not going to be good at doing the other things if I'm not good at fundamentals. This is what I tell students all the time. If the Kobe Bryants of the world, if the Michael Jordans of the world, if the Tiger Woods of the world are working on fundamentals, why do you think that you're too good to work on the fundamentals?
Man, oh man.
That's the key. You have to actually do it. You have to keep doing it. You have to be self-reflective. You have to get feedback. And that's what helps us get better all the time. I'm getting ready to do a keynote, and I've talked about this 1,000 times, and I'm going to present it in a different form. But what I did is I put something down. I told it to somebody to get feedback. Is it going to land? Is it not going to land? It's the practice. It's trying to find the best way to get that information across. And that's how we get better.
Yeah. One of the problems of being a beginner is that you don't know what you don't know. Practice doesn't necessarily make you better. It simply makes something perfect. As if you're doing something wrong, practicing it just makes you really good at doing that wrong thing. So the idea should be, how do we become intentional about practice? I'm trying to come up with ideas right now, but nothing is coming up. I'm thinking of, how do we actually put systems in place? Not everybody has to speak professionally. If you're a teacher, you have to teach. Basically, every work day, you can be testing your ideas and seeing what works and what doesn't work. But for some other persons, what they do is just their laptop all day and all night. So the question for me is, what are some, I'm thinking of, someone could join Toastmasters and something like that. I don't know, but what other conventional ideas you could recommend for someone to do such that they cannot escape practicing speaking?
Yeah, so I guess it really depends on where you are in the world, at least here in the United States, there are all kinds of organizations who hold meetings. They look for speakers. You call them up, say, do you have room? Would you like to hear about public speaking? I'm working on a public speaking 15, 20-minute presentation. Can I come in and do it for you? They'll say yes. I think you've got to find those types of things in your area to go out and do. From a content creation perspective, what we do there is we can put things out on our platform. Our audiences are going to tell us, yeah, I like it, I don't like it. I want to hear more of that. I want to hear more of this. Now, the problem with the content creation piece and doing that is the algorithms. If you've got a lot of people that are not liking your content, then you're going to be throttled back and nobody's going to see it. So that wouldn't be the place that I would suggest. You've got to find ways to put information out where people can see it, critique it, and then you can go back and get better.
Recently, one of the things I've been doing at the end of, it's not really something I do, because now that I see that one of the things I'm doing, it makes me sound as if I'm profound. But at the end of every episode I record, I'm basically forced to edit it. I'm the one that edits the episode. So I have to listen to all the episodes from start to finish again. Yes. And then I'm like, oh, the guest wanted to say something then, but I rushed it. I didn't allow the guests to speak. I should have paused for a bit and allowed them to complete their train of thoughts before I chipped in. And I get to learn a lot. And it's uncomfortable because I notice a lot of the mistakes and I'm like, we go again.
But wisdom, that's a good thing, buddy. That's good because you're doing the work. You're doing what you need to do. And understand that all that is, that just shows that you want to get better. You're doing the things that need to get better. Sometimes let's just say you're in that same situation and you do give that pause or you do give your opinion and you sit back and say, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have. Here's the thing with podcasting that I found, and if I'm wrong, I'm happy with being wrong here. I think the more that we do it, the more comfortable we get with it, the more comfortable we get with actually doing the interviews and listening to what other people are saying.
Honestly, just to follow up on what you said, literally every episode I record with a guest, 5-10 minutes before the episode, there's this feeling I have in my heart. Then the moment I hop on the call, we introduce ourselves and then we start chatting. It's as if we're two friends sitting on the chair and just having a conversation. But if I listen to my heart, I'll basically not even show up on the meeting and say, man, I'm afraid it's going to go bad.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. At least that's what I think a good podcast interview is. It's just two people talking, two friends talking.
Yeah.
And if we change the mindset of what could go bad to what could go right, how much good can we do if things go right?
Yeah. Fear itself, for me, I see it as a compass. So usually when I want to do something and I'm afraid, I'm like, okay, it shows that I deeply care about this thing. Yeah. Because if I don't care about it, why would I be afraid?
Exactly. Here's something else. Recently, let's just say over the last month, there's been a couple of times when I'm doing my podcast, I'm the host, and I'm doing the readout. I say my own website wrong. How about that? Okay, you say, I say my own website wrong. It's funny. You know, how's that happen?
Whoa.
You laugh it off, you fix it, and you move on. But again, it shows the vulnerability. It shows that it's not perfect. You're not perfect because nobody expects you to be perfect.
Yeah.
Just get on with it. It's okay. You're still providing great value. You're showing people that it's okay to mess up. It's how you handle that mess up and move forward.
Yeah.
And for me, you talk about saying dumb stuff. I say dumb things every day, buddy. Whether it's on the podcast, whether it's to my wife and kids, whether it's my friends, they're all wandering around saying, oh, what's Tim going to say today?
Oh my God. Wow. Actually, one of the things I love about podcasts is the fact that the origin is where it started as an audio only format. When I record the podcast, it's just different. Like it's as if I shut my eyes and then I imagine in my head, I'm seeing the listener. That's when I do solo episodes, of course. I'm seeing the listener and I'm just talking to them and I'm really relaxed and free. It's not like YouTube videos where I need to do 5 minutes, I'm rushing things. It's a bit different.
I think I look at it from the standpoint of, from the audio perspective, back before we had YouTube, before a lot of the technology we have today. Go back to when, at least here in the United States, we had AM, FM radio where we listened to athletic events, sporting events on the radio. How the play-by-play had to actually tell the story so that we could feel it the way that we would if we were in person or watching it on TV. That's what we need to do, or at least I think we need to do from the podcast perspective, take our listeners on that journey.
Yeah.
From start to end.
Yeah. And I want us to we'll be having a conversation back and forth, and I want us to do something exciting. I want us to chat the uncharted territory. I want us to do a quick challenge, right? For a creator who is thinking, how do I introduce myself quickly in an exciting, in a funny way, but really that stays through my brand? A quick 30 seconds introduction. Can we work out something quickly? With maybe the 3 to 4, 5 minutes that's left for maybe an imaginative. We'll just pick up someone and use some.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to give me 3 things that are unique about yourself.
Okay. As a question.
Yes.
3 things that are unique about myself. Okay.
Yes.
That question is very big. Is there a way you can narrow the question down? Because
so here's the thing. I actually teach a mini course on how to introduce yourself.
That's why I asked the question.
And so when I teach this, there's a number of different ways to go about doing it. And the quickest way is when I introduce myself or I'm teaching this to somebody, I say there's a 3-2-1 method. 3-2-1 method. It's called 3-2-1 framework. 3 steps, 2 types, or 1 thing. Either give me 3 things that are unique about you, 2 things that you like to do, or 1 thing that you want them to remember. But I always say, here's 3 things you need to know about Tim. Number 1, he likes to have fun. Number 2, he doesn't take himself very seriously. But number 3, you're going to learn something from him. When somebody asks what I do, the first thing I'll do is I'll put a question back to them. And they'll say, Tim, what do you do? I say, have you ever been nervous when you get in front of a group of people and speak? They'll say yes. I've only had 1 or 2 people ever say no. Okay. And then I go a different route, but they say, yeah. And I said, what's the nervous you've ever been? And I say, I threw up. I said, I threw up. That's what I help people with.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Man.
So now what you've done is you've given them, showed them the value. That's what I help people with. I help people become powerful communicators.
Instead of speaking big words, you just painted a picture of what you do in their mind.
And that's going to stick. A lot of times, especially from the young professional perspective, people freeze up and they say dumb things. You want me to give an example of saying dumb things? Can I give you an example? One time I was applying for a job and I was older, and the first part of the interview was done over the phone, and we were just having a little chit chat, and somebody asked me where I live. Okay. And you may not understand this, but people in the United States would. I'm a full-time RVer, so I live in a bus.
Yeah, I understand that. Again,
one of the things that you have to do is you have to dump the septic tank. Not 20 seconds into the conversation, I'm talking about emptying the septic tank in a professional interview because I wasn't really thinking. Guess what? I didn't get that job. They didn't call me back. I can't figure it out. All because I wasn't paying attention, because I didn't do the things that I know I should have been doing.
Yeah, it all ties back to the purpose, right? We have so many stories that we could share, but not all our stories would fit a particular purpose. Or if you're trying to do an interview, the stories you want to pick, they are quite different from the stories you share when you're talking with your buddies in the evening, at night, or something like that. They're different.
Yes, it's
very different. Except you want to get reported to HR. Thank you so much. The way the time flies, I'm like, wow, when did we just start? Thank you so much. I had a great time chatting with you.
So do I. And let me just tell you something. I love what you're doing. I love that you're putting yourself out there. You're going to be great. Just keep doing it. Keep getting better. And I'm expecting big things from you.
All right. I'll mark this date so that in the future, I knew it. I told him that it was going to be great. And there will be evidence to prove that you said it. Where can people connect with you and learn more from this?
Okay. So I'm going to get my website right this time. It's timnewmanspeaks.com. That's timnewmanspeaks.com.
Actually,
that's the best place to go, but you can also find me on LinkedIn as just Tim Newman.
The moment you said you were going to give your website, all I could remember was, please don't say it wrong this time.
Don't say it wrong.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Sometimes it happens when you are hosting your own show, so I think we stay for now. Yeah, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate you inviting me on and sharing with your community. It's been a real pleasure, bud.
That's all for today's episode of Wisdom Journey. If this conversation helps you, I love your support. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or subscribe to us on YouTube. to help others discover the show. And you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/wisdomhq to keep the podcast heart-free and thriving. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Wisdom Journey podcast. Create boldly. The world needs your work. This is Wisdom Conquest signing off. See you in the next episode.